Welcome back to Big Bookie, presented by Big Banter Sports, your home for all your Big Ten sports needs. We've got podcasts at every single university within the Big Ten, and we are the home for all of your bets, and especially the dogs. So we're going to kick it off with our football slate. We've got a 7-game slate, pretty enticing. I think there's some interesting matchups this week. But obviously everybody's ready for next week, the rivalry week. But we've got to cover this week and give you our favorite plays. So we'll start it off at Maryland. We have Michigan, who opens as a 19-point favorite, and the over-under is 50.5. Brandon, do you have any plays for this game for our viewers?
I don't think the Wolverines will be looking ahead to the big game next week. I think they trounced Maryland. Maryland has been quite disappointing ever since that 4-0 start. They did beat Nebraska on the road last week, but that was more so Nebraska's self-inflicted wounds rather than Maryland going out and winning that game. 19's a lot, but I think the Wolverines are going to be fired up for it. They're going to get it done and cover that spread.
Yep, have to agree. I don't think they're going to be looking ahead, especially with every single eye, it seems like, in the media is looking at Michigan right now. So I think they're going to come out, handle business. Brant, anything to add on this game? Any bets?
I do. I do have some bets. But first, I'd like to tell you about White Claw. Big Bookie is brought to you by White Claw Hard Seltzer. Vodka, the world's first triple wave filtered vodka and flavored vodka. This is 100% American grain. This is distilled 5 times, and it's triple wave filtered vodka. You can't do game day without White Claw. Go get one.
I love it.
And my play for the Michigan game, it's easy. It's Michigan minus 19. Um, I I hate to say it, but this team has just trounced everyone they've played. Penn State never had a prayer in that game last weekend. And as long as Sharon Moore is crying like a little baby on the sideline, they're gonna cover handily. So yeah, give me the Wolverines.
Yeah, I think their running backs are really looking good. That's what's got me worried next week. But we will move on to the Nittany Lions. They have Rutgers coming to town. They open as a 20.5 point favorite. And this seems a little high just because there is a little bit of similarity in their win losses. They seem like two above 500. Well, they are two above 500 teams, but they both look pretty good on paper. So that was a pretty stark line that I saw. And the over under is only 41.5. So, Brant, you have any bets for this game? It's an interesting line.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bold. I think Rutgers. I think I'm going to lean into Rutgers. I mean, I know they just lost by 22 to Iowa. They kind of got trounced by Michigan earlier this year, but that was before they were caught stealing signs. So, they're out. Connor is out there whispering on the sidelines. Um, but I think this Penn State team, I mean, it's going to be a new offensive coordinator this week after Mike Yurcich was fired. So a lot to iron out there on the offensive side of the ball. And Rutgers played some good defense. Penn State also plays some good defense. Rutgers doesn't play that great of offense. But I mean, 3 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns in this game. I don't think Penn State's going to win by that much. Rutgers seems like a safer play to me, and the under also seems like a safer play. Just with the spread being so long, I'm more confident in the under than Rutgers covering. But if you're going to go under 41, they're likely going to cover that spread.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you think it could be a routing, just a very low scoring routing by Penn State.
Yeah, I don't even know a routing. I think maybe a 1-score game. I think Rutgers might have him on their toes. I know it's in Happy Valley, and I know we saw Indiana have him on their toes here earlier in the season.
Mhm.
So maybe Penn State has it together, but I don't know. This is just a team that's not clicking right now. And Rutgers, on the other hand, I know they had the game last week that didn't go in their favor, but I think they're still going to be fired up, and I think they can make a statement win. Or I think that's going to be their goal, is to go in there and make a statement win. Meanwhile, Penn State's just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of alluding to. I don't think Penn State really has much to play for this season anymore. I think they really felt confident that they had a shot at Michigan and they could force this three-way tie at the top of the Big Ten East. And I do think Rutgers has something to prove. Penn State is a great school. They have always been that top 3 or 4 echelon in the Big Ten East or Big Ten overall. And that this would be a huge win for Shiano. Like, I feel like this team is moving in the right direction. You can feel the program kind of gaining a little bit of momentum year after year, especially with him at the helm. So I think it will be under that 20 and a half. I know the defenses will probably be the story of this game, but if I don't know, I just don't love betting the under when it's pretty low. When you think about it, if it's a 20, 21, 21, like that tie at like 3 touchdowns is all it takes to get over this 41 and a half line. So I'm going to be taking the under, or not the under. I'm going to take 20 and a half plus for Rutgers. Brandon, how are you feeling about this game?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head pretty well. These are two really, really good defenses, and I think my favorite play out of the spread and total would be the under. The Penn State offense is giving me nothing to write home about this year. Replacing the OC, I don't think they're going to be taking many deep shots. I don't think they're going to be spreading the ball out far, and I just don't think there's going to be enough points scored to get that 40 and a half. So I think the under is the play of the game for me. I do like Rutgers to cover the spread as well.
Love it. Next, we're heading to Bloomington. We've got the Hoosiers taking on Michigan State, and we have IU opening as a home favorite, 4-point home favorite. And the over-under is 47 and a half. Brandon, we'll start with you. Are you going to be betting anything on this game, or are you just going to stay away?
I don't even think I'll be watching this game, so I don't think there will be a bet to be made for me. If I had to throw any of it on there, it'd be probably Indiana. They've looked like the more competent football team than Michigan State this year, and that's saying a lot because Indiana's 3-7 too. So, I mean, if you're a sicko, that's your kind of game. You love to see it. I'm gonna stay far away.
Yeah. Even though it is a Big Ten East battle, it almost feels Big Ten West-esque. Um, I do not like anything about this game. I think you hit the nail on the head. But Brant, you going to be touching this game?
I am all over IU -4. The Hoosiers are, I mean, they've been playing competent football. Maybe they're 3-7, but they've been playing good football. They kept it close with Penn State. They had an amazing, thrilling overtime game against Illinois that came right down to the wire, and they lost it in the most Indiana fashion. But Michigan State just has gotten blown out again and again and again. I mean, I said it earlier on the podcast, they were going to win one this year. They got it against Nebraska. I think Indiana is going to win this one pretty comfortably. So I'm confident in that Indiana -4.
Interesting. So Brant is the sicko that will bet on this game. But
Sick
moving
man.
forward, we've got a brawl in the Big Ten West. It is wide open right now, and this is a big game, even though it may not feel like it to the average Big Ten fan. We've got Iowa hosting Illinois. They open as a 3-point home favorite, and the line is not the lowest. It is tied for the lowest this week in the Big Ten at 30 and a half. Brant, we'll start with you as our podcast resident Hawkeye. How do you feel about this game?
I mean, it's a tough line. I don't think I'll actually be betting the line, but I actually want to lean into the Illini +3. Ever since John Paddock has taken over at quarterback, he's kind of added a new element to this offense that didn't show much early in the season. And then obviously the Iowa offense has shown absolutely nothing. So the one-man wrecking crew of Johnny Newton can probably wreak some havoc. The under is obviously the free play. You put your house on it and you walk away with another house. But I think I'm going to lean towards the Illini +3. You don't think I'll actually be betting that. So do that with caution. And also just this Iowa team is not going to finish 10-2. It's just not that caliber of a football team. They're going to drop one of the last two, whether it's against Illinois and Nebraska. They'll find a way to make the Big Ten West very interesting. And I think Illinois is just the better team right now than Nebraska. So why not lean into the Illini?
Yeah, I think I might have to agree. even though our friend of the podcast, Ben Leonard, his Leonard lock of the week is Iowa -3, and he did put the house on it. So, but I think one thing that he didn't really look into is that Cooper DeJean out for the season now is what I'm reading and hearing in the media. He's a catalyst to that Iowa team. He is one of their definitive playmakers, and I think losing him really does kind of shift a little bit of the perspective on this Iowa team. I'm not saying that he did it all and all the wins should be credited to him, but I do think he was a large factor. So I might have to agree with Brant. I would be leaning. I'm probably not going to bet it, but we're taking that under. Like Brant said, it's free money. You might as well bet it. Brandon, anything to add on this game?
No, just that the under is the play. Don't even need to mess with the line. You have the win right there with the under, so hammer it.
Beautiful. Now we head into our afternoon slate. Only one game at 4 o'clock. We have Minnesota visiting Ohio State, and Ohio State opens at 27.5-point favorites. This year they have fared well against the spread, and the over/under is 48.5. Brandon, we'll start with you. How will you be betting this game if you are?
We just saw Purdue drop almost 50 points on this Minnesota team. Ohio State probably won't. They'll be done at half. I think Ohio State does cover this spread. Minnesota, we don't know what we're going to get from them, and I just don't see them competing for one half, let alone 4 quarters with the Buckeyes. Buckeyes aren't looking ahead either. This is a big enough game for them to get the seniors out with a bang, and I think they do that.
Yeah, I do. I think this is. I know it's a large spread, the largest of the week, but I think they cover comfortably. Minnesota hasn't really shown anything this year that would be a threat to that level of a defense of the top teams in the Big Ten. But I don't think I'm going to be betting the over/under. I don't think that Minnesota is going to offer a lot of help. So it would be a lot of Ohio State would have to score those points. And I do think they could put up 49. It could be 49-7, something like that. But I think, like Brandon alluded to, we'll probably pull a lot of the starters to start the third quarter or fourth. So I think it'll be a comfortable win, but not going to touch that over/under. Brant, what are you going to be betting this game?
Yeah, I think I'll just tail you guys on that Ohio State cover. I was confident they'll probably cover that. I don't think it's going to be a competitive game like you guys were saying. I actually saw the over/under line at 50. So I'm not
Must
sure
have
if it,
moved up,
not
sons.
sure
Yeah,
if it
I
changed
did
at all.
this around lunchtime, so
But
it might have
even
moved to now.
even at 48.5, I'm still that's my bet of the week is the under. I don't think that Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota's offensive identity has always been under PJ Fleck: run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Kalik Manis just is not going to be able to pass the ball. Period. Even if they have to be in situations where they're going to have to be passing against Ohio State, and he's not going to be able to do that against this defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think they'll score a touchdown, just like Michigan State last week. They might only put up 3 points. And in that case, I think Ohio State runs away with it, covers the 4 touchdown spread, and comfortably goes under.
Interesting. I love it. Love the plays for the viewers. And now we close out the football leg of the show with Nebraska visiting Wisconsin. Wisconsin as a home favorite opens at 4.5 points. And when I got it, it was the over/under at 36.5. So Brant, we can start with you. Will you be betting this game? And what would your plays be?
Yeah, I mean, the spread is just a headache. 4.5 with 2 teams that, 1 week they come out and have a big win. Next week they come out and have an absolute dud. So it's not one that I would advise anyone to put any sort of money on. If I had to pick away, I'd probably go Nebraska plus 4.5, just because, I mean, these teams both look so incompetent. But I'd say Nebraska has had a little bit more confidence than Wisconsin recently, but I would not advise anyone to take that. The bet I do like here, definitely leaning into the under heavily. I saw it at 37, but 36.5. I'm happy with the under there too. Both these teams can't throw the football. They run the football decently, and they both play solid defense, especially against horrible opponents, which they both are. And also, both these teams are going to be trying to win the game. So they're going to stick to what they do best, running the football, because both these teams are sitting at 5 wins. Winner walks away with bowl eligibility.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's huge. So that I think both of these teams will be playing very hard in this game because both teams would like to be bowl eligible. But I'm with you, Brant. I don't love that line. I don't think either of these teams have proven consistent. But I will be tailing you on that under 36.5. Brandon, anything to add on this game?
Yeah, no, I think I'll be making that a big bookie squad ride with that under because you just don't know what you're getting from either team. I think turnovers is really what's going to decide the game. So the spread is not something I want to touch at all, considering I expect both these teams to probably turn the ball over at least 2 times. And I just do not see any long. I mean, the drives will be long; they'll be sustained. They'll end with a missed field goal or a turnover, and we'll probably get something like 2017, or not 2017, sorry, 2014, give or take. Get that under.
Yep. Yep. I agree with those takes. Now we do have our basketball slate. Not too many games this week. But I think there were three big ones that we wanted to cover. Now, there weren't lines out when I looked today for basketball, but let's start with Maryland and Villanova. I think this could be a very interesting game. I know I've said on this pod that Maryland looks frisky. They look like they could be a top half team in the Big Ten. Not sure if they're going to take that top spot away from Purdue, but I think they're going to be in the upper half and play well this season. But I just want to hear you guys' thoughts. Are you going to be betting this game? Do you like a team in this? Brant, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams have underperformed drastically to start the season. Maryland dropped 2 games to mid-major opponents against Davidson and against UAB last week. So definitely not an ideal start for them. But on the flip side, Villanova was ranked in the top 25 to start the season and dropped 1 to Penn. So you've got 2 teams who really need to get a resume win early on after kind of suffering those big blows. And I think I don't know what the line's going to be, but I just think that Villanova has more experience at this point, and more depth at this point. So I probably have to pick them, but not sure what the spread's going to be on that game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these lines are when they come out. But Brandon, how are you feeling about this game? You have a definitive pick?
Oh yeah. I think Villanova does take it. It's at the Pavilion. It's very hard to win at Villanova. Maryland has been offensively challenged this year. They have dropped 2 games, like Brent said, against mid majors in this little opening season tournament, and they just have a lot of pieces that have not meshed together yet. I do think they'll get to that point later in the season that they will be a lot more efficient on offense, but early season road test. I love taking the home team when it comes to college basketball. We don't know what the spread is. I think we're probably going to get something around maybe 7 points, and I would be comfortable taking Villanova at -7. Anything more will be something that I'll have to determine, but Villanova is definitely winning this game.
Got it. I'll look forward to that one. Next one that we got on the slate, we have UConn visiting Indiana. Um, Not sure. I haven't watched much of UConn basketball this year, but I know there is a lot of at least Big Ten hype around the Indiana Hoosiers. I think they have a lot of recruits on the team and a few returning people to their roster. So, Brandon, I'll turn it over to you. Is there a team that you think is just going to take this one easily that you think are better should tail?
Yeah, UConn is just picking up right where they left off last season. They are a wagon. All the games at MSG, I believe. So it's going to be almost a UConn home game. And I don't think Indiana has anybody that can stay inside with Klingon. He's going to dominate the boards. He's going to dominate inside. And I don't think they can really compete on the 3-point line either with the Huskies. So I will be taking the Huskies. I don't care what the spread is. I think they dominate this game from opening tip.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to tell you on that one because I forgot that they are coming off that national championship win and they have a good amount of returners to that team. But Brant, would love to hear your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, UConn and MSG, that they don't lose there often. They've got a lot of fans out there on the East Coast. Indiana is another team in the Big Ten that is not started very hot. They played a lot of close games with some mid majors. Almost got bumped up there early. And well, I'm not as high on UConn as you are, Brandon. I mean, losing Sonogo and losing Jordan Hawkins after last season, were two of the better players in all of college basketball. One on the inside and probably the best shooter in college basketball last year. Um, I I don't think UConn's gonna keep playing at that level when they start playing better opponents. But when playing against Indiana shouldn't be a test for them. They should wipe the floor there.
Awesome. And to close out our college basketball slate, we know it's early, but we do want to get you these picks because we know that everybody loves college basketball, but it's tough to battle between college football and college basketball, but we know people are going to be betting and people are going to be watching. So to close it out, we've got a top 10, I believe, matchup. I know Purdue is top 10, but we have Purdue and Gonzaga. I think this could be a very good game. Purdue has, I believe, looked the part this year. Is that correct? They've started out
Oh,
pretty. They
1000%.
look, yeah. And Gonzaga is, that seems like a very good team. I don't think they're gonna have the magic that they had when they were like ranked number one for the majority of the seasons when they had Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren. But Brant, I'll turn it over to you. Do you have a favorite in this game?
I'm gonna need to see a spread before I do anything. Because I mean, if I had to guess, maybe Purdue's favored by 5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where my head's at. But I think this is going to be a tough one to bet on. Purdue just they've got the same team they had last year, but guys have kind of taken a step forward. At least the guards have looked more
Yeah,
explosive.
the guards, yeah, for sure.
And I mean, Braden Smith still turned the ball over a lot against Xavier, but definitely looked better. And then with Gonzaga, you've got a team who is undergoing a lot of turnover, but they've been running trains on opponents early in the season as well. Got a lot of transfers, a few freshmen in there too. So they're still a very talented team, as they usually are. Um, these teams actually played last year, and Purdue got the better of Gonzaga when they were actually unranked, and Gonzaga was one of the higher ranked teams. Um, but as far as where I'm leaning in this game, definitely gonna have to see that spread.
Mhm.
But I think Gonzaga keeps it close with them.
Yeah, without a spread, it's tough to really lean one way because we both know these teams will probably more than likely both make the tournament unless something catastrophic happens to their season. But I like to view this as Matt Painter's March, the regular season. This is all that seems, this is what his bread and butter is. Um, so depending on how large the spread is, I think just off the bat, I'm going to have to lean Purdue because Purdue just plays very well throughout the season. It seems like they rarely falter. Um, and especially when it comes to Big Ten tournament, they look like a well-oiled machine. Um, but yeah, Brandon, we'd love to hear your thoughts before we close it out.
Yeah, obviously not knowing the spread makes it hard because every point has value at some point. The larger the spread, the more I like Gonzaga, of course. I do like Purdue to win this game. Again, it just depends on that spread. I'd probably play him to 3.5, 4. Anything more than that, it's going to be a stretch. I bet on this game last year in Portland. One of my biggest bets of the college basketball season last year, I had Gonzaga and Purdue just they were unstoppable. It was incredible stuff. So I might not be fading them again this time around, but it all just depends on what marker we get with that point spread.
Yep, love it. So we'll try to keep featuring these. Hopefully, we may put out some tweets once these lines come available. Just judging on how busy we are. But we would love to get more updated takes, especially we know that you guys are missing Chris this episode. He's been busy with work this week, but he'll be back next week and we will get all of our picks out. So tune in tomorrow, Thursday, to YouTube or Spotify. You can listen to these and especially look out on Friday for our takes. Big Bookie BB on Twitter for all of our lines and favorite plays for the Big Ten football slate. Yep, and be sure next week's show is going to be action-packed.
Massive.
It's rivalry week. It may go long. You guys might have to tune in for an hour episode, but make sure you tune in because it will be a special one.